Hey everybody, it's Matt here and this is my snake adventure, and today's video is about what I've learned about feeding your ball python. So let's get started. Right, so let's get started. Now we're going to talk about the 6 points that you need to consider when it comes to feeding your ball python. Okay, but before we start, please like, subscribe, comment, do all these things that everyone else asks you to do. Because I will be putting more videos on. I've just got Diesel a new Bavarian. It's much bigger, so I'm going to be posting videos on how I do that and how I make it look nice and everything, and see what he looks like in it. It's going to be really good. Everything's coming today, so I'm going to put some pictures on Instagram. So check that out. It's literally just snake_adventure. Okay, right, so this is the first one. Rats or mice. Okay, so this is totally up to you. In all honesty, it's depending on what your snake wants to eat, what it was bred on, it's fed on when it was a little baby. In all honesty, people I've spoken to and what I've seen is most of the time they're fed on mice pups because they're really small. You can break them up, etc, etc. So I'm going to put in a nutritional chart on the screen, just so you can see a breakdown of, these are neonatal size. So it's going to be the protein, the calcium, and the fat percentage of a rat versus a mouse. Okay, as you can see, the rat is better on fat and calcium. It is a few percent less for protein. However, young snakes, young animals, they need the fat to build up, keep warm, etc, etc. Obviously calcium for bone growth, protein for muscles, etc. So the biggest thing you need to think about is, when it comes to what you're going to feed your animal, is when it gets bigger, when it gets to 1.5 kilos or 1,500 grams to 2,000 grams or 2 kilos, it's feeding it. Now when they get older, they get fed maybe every 10 days. With a rat, you can easily get a 150 gram rat to 200 gram rat. So that's one meal. And that's much better for snakes for digestion rather than lots of little meals. Where a mouse, the extra large mice you can get are from 30 grams plus. So you've kind of got to do 5 mice for one rat. So you need to think about that, But now we're going to go on to number 2. And that is, what size of food or prey do you give your snake? Now there's 2 ways of doing this. One, you look at the thickest part of your snake's body or the stomach area, and you go by, you get your rodent out and you actually check the size compared to the body, not literally next to each other. And you want it to be fit in the body perfectly, okay? Another way of doing it is by percentage. Now this is normally between 10 to 15% of the body of the total snake's weight. So Diesel's just turned 200 grams recently, and today's food I'm going to give him is only 18 grams. But that it's a good size for his body. So that's something to consider. Literally, you've got 2 options: by weight or the thickness of the body. Both work. I've spoken to people and they like the percentage way because it's easier. They know exactly what size weight to do. I weigh him regularly. I weigh his food regularly just to make sure, because some of them, when you buy a rat or a mouse, they come in bags of, 11 to 25 grams. So obviously there's a lot more protein, fat, calcium. Yes, there's ash in there, what I believe is the food. However, I don't know, so don't quote me on that. Message me below. going to be much more of that in an 18-gram rodent than there is in a 10-gram rodent or 11-gram rodent. So it's always good just to weigh. Now the third one is pretty much the first time I fed Diesel. Now this is just more just to let you know how I had to deal with it and the mistakes I made. And this is going to lead on to the 4th, 5th and the 6th. So I defrosted the rat. You know, I've done a lot of research. I know, defrost it. I let it get up to room temperature. And I waved it around Diesel's face. And he sort of looked at me like, what are you doing? He was not interested. He was just, he could smell it. I mean, he was like, I can smell it. He was climbing over it. He was, you know, literally just like, he was using it as like a ledge. He was sitting on it. He was just like, I can smell it, but I can't see it. So that leads me on to number 4. Okay, and 5. Okay, so how to defrost it and how to heat it up. So there's 2 main ways of defrosting the rodent. I've tried both. One is leaving it out all day. Room temperature, tub, let it get to room temperature by itself. You take it out in the morning, you come home after work and you feed, you know, and it's ready to go. The only issue with that is, I'm a carer, so sometimes I have to work longer shifts, and I've come home and my house is stunk, okay? Because sometimes when you get these rodents out, they've got a little bit of poo on them. You know, they got some wee on them and they utterly stink. So you need to consider that when you come in and the house stinks of rat pee and poo. I don't like it. So the method I use is I put it in a bag, like a Ziploc bag. I mean, you get these from Tesco's, Morrison's, wherever. You know, save the planet, get some recyclable ones. You can wash them out. So yeah, literally, I turn the tap on and the hottest temperature it will come out at. I fill up a container. I put the rat inside the bag, inside the hot water, put something on top of it so it's actually submerged. I leave it about 15-20 minutes. Now the time it takes to defrost depends on the size of the prey or the food. A good way of telling though is when you open up the bag, if you press on the stomach and it's like, you know, like jelly, not jelly, if it's like nice and soft and pliable, that's a good way of telling that it's defrosted all the way through. So now heating. Now this is number 5. So we've got one more left after this. This is number 5. How to heat up the prey. Now there's a couple of ways of doing it. How I do it is I boil a kettle, let the kettle go off boil, pour the water in a jug, and I literally dip the head of the rat into the water for 3 seconds, okay? Now there is a negative with this. Now obviously boiling water, the snake sees it, it takes it, there's chances of hurting your snake. So what I do is I let it get hot, I have it in my hand until it feels about right. You don't want it too hot, you don't want it too cold, but you'll know when what I mean by this. Or you can use a little, you know, infrared thing. You want it to be about 37, 38 degrees in temperature. Another way of doing it, what is very common, is using a hairdryer. Now I've tried this method. The missus was a little bit like, why are you doing this? As I'm using her hairdryer. It does work, it keeps the rat dry as well. So, and obviously it gets it up to a nice temperature. You can do all this in the bag. So try the different methods. The one that works for me is dipping it into really hot water. You know, let the kettle boil, leave it for 5 minutes, and literally you dip it in for a few seconds just on the head. And that seems to work for me perfectly, okay? Now this leads on to number 6. Obviously feeding your animal, okay? So everyone wants to see their snake strike. It's pretty amazing to watch. Diesel, I mean, he is so quick, he's powerful. I'm going to put a video on, I believe I still have it, where when I first done it, it scared the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie, it scared me to death. As you can see in the video, not scared me to death, but it shocked me because I was trying to record it as well. So that, you know, you can either wiggle it in front of them, make sure you use tongs, wiggle it in front of them to get them a scent, and then you can obviously let them strike. Or what I've done as well is put it on like a bark tree or something, and they will take it themselves. You know, it depends on what you want to do. It's kind of cool to see Jake looking around his cage to try and find the bait, and then when he finds it, he's having it. Now, my little pro tip is I put kitchen roll down in his cage before I feed. 2 reasons why I do this. One is the main reason is because the first time I fed him, he got some substrate stuck in his mouth. Now, having a new snake, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And I managed to, anyway, he managed to get it out. There was no issue, okay? But it worried me. So I put it down there because it stops, when he's rolling around on the floor, it stops the rat getting covered in substrate. And that can obviously lead to impaction and everything else. But also, he now knows, even on feeding day, like today's feeding day, I can go put my hand in there when he's around. He's not interested. He doesn't strike at me or anything. But when I put the tissue down, he recognizes that scent, and that gets him interested. Oh, okay, so there's something exciting happening now, because every time I hear the smell, I notice the smell, I get fed. So it's a good way of training him, ready for, so he knows when he's going to get fed. Now, I've done this every single time on feeding days, and he's been no issue. I might just be lucky, but it's worth a try. Please, if you try it, message down below, let me know. And that's it. Your your 6 things you need to know when it comes to feeding your ball python. Choose your rats or mice. I prefer rats because I can get bigger size rats when he's older. 2, what size food you need. 3, obviously that was me just telling you about, the mistakes I made and stuff for you just to look out for. 4 is defrosting it and how to defrost it. 5 was heating it up, and 6 is actually feeding it and the methods I use. What seems to work and keeps him safe. To be fair, that's the main thing for me. But yeah, so if you like the video, please subscribe, comment, like it. Go onto my Instagram and follow that as well. Until the next video, see you later.